Welcome, everyone. It's good to have you back, and good to have the opportunity today to have Joe Burgert with us, and he's going to talk about Amazon EC2. And so, as we did last week, we're doing live polling, so go ahead and either text your answers to 22333 if you're in the U.S., or use pollev.com/tech20 from a browser, or your iPhone, iPad, whatever, and go in and participate in the polls. So Joe has been with CA for about 12 years now. He's a senior principal consultant on the innovation team in the security group, and he's been using EC2 for some of his work, and so he'll explain more about that. And at this time, we'll turn the time over to Joe and go from there.
Thank you, Clayton, and thanks everybody for joining. For those here on the East Coast, I'm pretty impressed that you would not find something better on TV to watch while this is going on, so I commend you for participating today. We do want to keep this kind of open and collaborative, so at times with questions, please feel free, and then also with the polling, as Clayton had mentioned. So when we start off, I have used the Amazon EC2, as Clayton had mentioned, and a couple of the things for my role here at CA. What I also want to kind of start with is what is the EC2? It's part of the Amazon Web Services, and it's a component therein of that ecosystem. So from that perspective, what is the AWS or Amazon Web Services EC2? The AWS, better to start there, is or was an initiative by Amazon to revolutionize the Amazon.com space. So they basically built up a virtualized or a platform, an infrastructure that they could scale up and down per the demand that they saw for their .com space. In the 2006 timeframe, they actually went to market with an offering that kind of productized what they had been using internally for some years. With that, they matured it and evolved it with additional capabilities. One of the main kind of capabilities is the EC2, or the kind of the virtualized server infrastructure that you can leverage for various tasks and projects that you may have. Some of which I can kind of talk to you how I've used it in the past. But we'd be kind of interested to see if you guys have leveraged AWS in any capacity, or more specifically around the EC2, whether it's you know, in a sales opportunity, a services, or maybe even for personal use. So it's actually pretty interesting. We kind of a mixed bag. In our first question, I kind of went a little too fast there, but if you guys have heard or have used Netflix, Pinterest, or Instagram, all three of those technologies in some way, some form, some percentage actually use the Amazon EC2 to leverage their infrastructure. They use it to go to market. So some interesting kind of companies out there you might not have already known leverage this technology. So what is the EC2 and how can you use it? I have been using it off and on for a couple engagements, and I come from a more VMware-friendly use. I come from a pre-sales capacity here in North America, and traditionally I have leveraged and utilized VMware Workstation or ESXi, things like that, for its capabilities of helping me to enable POCs, custom demos, trials, and things of that nature. And moving into the Amazon EC2 for various reasons, I made kind of logical connections as what I knew in the VMware world and what the Amazon EC2 leverage. So they have kind of broken up into various components. Very quickly, I can kind of do some translations for you, but you're able to run instances, or what I would like to call VMware instances or images, and I give you the capability of running a copy of a running instance or image of a various OS platform or product of some sort. It has volumes and snapshots. The snapshots is a great comparison to the VMware, same nomenclature there. gives you the ability to, again, just kind of snapshot in time of a running instance in the EC2. You have IP addresses, you have firewalls, you have load balancers, and all this kind of virtualized infrastructure, all the things you need from a perspective of running an image. It's been very helpful for me.
Joe?
Sure.
So does this make it like a whole data center?
It can, yeah. Think about it, virtualizing basically everything that you could visualize in a rack. And you can, there's a software-based equivalent to it, and a lot of the things and capabilities that you would potentially need or require, pretty much everything's going to be in here. To give you an example, run some stress testing or some load testing on our CI IdentiMinder product. One of the key facets or requirements I needed was a load balancer. I wanted to be able to hit an infrastructure and have kind of a round-robin type of approach. So I was able to leverage kind of the virtualized data center load balancer to be able to accomplish that. So yes, and very much you can look at it as a virtualized data center that you have complete control over. And they have done a really good job of spinning this up. I think it was initially developed in South Africa and the team with Amazon, but it's now been released, I believe, out to the masses worldwide. So if you're going to have an opportunity or need to use this, I just kind of recommend that you take a look at where you are geographically. Always, I would say, leverage the area or the region. I think that's the way they describe it, as regions. That's closest to you. You'll get the best performance and connectivity to it. Now, you can spawn or go to other regions, and it's perfectly accessible to you, but performance might be a little different if you have to just network hops to get to where you need to be or where you'd actually be leveraging the infrastructure. So just be cautious of where you are. And then also there's some numerous regs out there that you need to be cautious of data movement. If you were to put customer data on here for whatever reason, be cautious of where you are, where that data was or originates, and where it can't leave as far as geographical border. So be cautious of that. But the Amazon EC2 and AWS is a global product that is accessible around various areas. So what are some additional capabilities? I know that today's conversation is primarily around the EC2 and its infrastructure. Thought it'd be also good to give you some additional content and color around some additional capabilities that are made available to you. So the EC2 is that kind of framework we talked about from the perspective of virtualizing servers in the cloud. They have various storage capabilities with S3, which is kind of a scalable storage model in the cloud that really is your general storage, I would say, from a perspective of the back end of an EC2. So if you have an EC2 image or instance running, primarily you're going to have a back end of an S3 storage unit that would basically create or maintain your virtual instance hard drive, if you will. So if you could think of a rack somewhere, it's got a physical hard drive in it. The S3 storage is that kind of virtualized equivalent. Some long-term storage, so this is kind of something recent, is the Glacier program, or the kind of long-term archival storage in the AWS infrastructure. Is a very low-cost model to allow for long-term storage, not meant to be accessible directly, and more of a, if you have an archival plan or policy in place, it could be a great option for you to very cheaply store that information long-term with the ability to get to it, but not something you access daily. There are some other services that you might need. So if you can envision building up an infrastructure to support an application out there, you can use or may require some notification. So one of the secure email servers, or the email sending servers, the SES, is a purely email component of the AWS infrastructure, which allows you to do what the name implies and send out emails to various recipients. albeit the horsepower that's available on the EC2, you do generally have to go through some hoops to make that work appropriately. And sometimes there are other options, like maybe using an outside Google account or other email client might be your better option. Due to the nature of the Amazon EC2 and the horsepower that's available to you, Amazon is very cautious of spammers and spammers using their horsepower to very quickly spam people and bring down an image and almost kind of fade to black. So they're very cautious of people spinning up kind of spamming servers just for the sole purpose of sending on emails, and then they just, kill the image, hours later. So they're very cautious of that. So albeit a very powerful and helpful tool, sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So if you do need to email and are using something in EC2, could be an option for you. Another one is the secure notification service. It gives you some email capability and some notification via SMS. Some really cool use cases there from a customer perspective. I know that I've been asked by several customers as to support on the mobile platform or notification through, definitely in the security BU, we have solutions out there where we could potentially be sending password reset commands and or data via an SMS. And sometimes it proofs in the pudding, so it's nice to be able to have that capability at your disposal if you need to be able to send an SMS if needed. So there's some additional capabilities within the Amazon AWS that work in conjunction with the EC2, so there's a lot there for you. One of the really cool things about the EC2 outside of these services that I just mentioned is the ability to quickly launch and spin up software that you may not have the knowledge of installing or administrating, or just don't have the time to build up yourself. So there's a kind of a library or a catalog, if you will, of servers and instances that you can pull at the ready. Think of it as kind of a big, huge VMware catalog. Someone out there spent the time and energy to build these instances, have them pre-built and ready to run. All you have to do is select them, find them, start them up, attach an IP address to it, and connect to it. So it makes it very helpful. One example is I was working on a project that needed or required an Oracle database backend, of which I'd been at several years since I had ever done that. I was able to find an image that was able to give me the latest and greatest Oracle database. I was able to find it, start it. They'd even configured it to boot up into a wizard, asked me 10 or 15 questions, and within minutes, probably within an hour of finding it, starting it, logging in, and configuring it, I had a fully fledged Oracle database up and running. So the time and the tools available to use those is just tremendous. So it can be very beneficial in sales opportunities where time is everything, to just really focusing in on customer needs and not having to worry about prerequisites and things like that. You can really take advantage of that. Some additional kind of growth in this market. It's kind of been interesting to see this thing evolve over the years, and I think this kind of might be the Apple effect, if you will, in the Apple App Store. And an AWS Marketplace is thriving and is being developed and populated with tons of new images, some paid, some free, but people are selling their wares and their images for use in the EC2 to give people an ability to grab their images ready. Again, this is kind of in conjunction with kind of an internal catalog that the EC2 has. So this is kind of a storefront version of that people can sell their wares in, that it might not meet just the free model from the perspective of the internal catalog. So this is ever evolving. This is kind of something new and interesting. It wasn't available, or at least I didn't see it in the past year. I think this might be something that's standing up, but it could have been there before. I haven't leveraged it myself, but it's pretty interesting, pretty exciting to be able to, again, have the ability to get these tools and capabilities up and running in your environment very quickly.
Joe, you talk about money. Is using this expensive? Is it cheap? Or, where does it, how do they make their money and so on about this? How does Amazon make all their money?
Great question. So one of the things I've noticed in kind of working with this tool is that everything costs money. So down to, if you can think about, and I'll dial back here a little bit, if you can see here in the background image, you've got things like the instances and the volumes and the snapshots and the security groups and the elastic IPs. Everything down, to the bit and byte is accounted for and costs money. And when you look at a kind of a price model or a price sheet, everything's, pennies on the dollar, 2 cents for an hour for X CPU or something like that. And it's kind of individual item. It seems very trivial, and you're like, oh, this won't be too bad. But you have to be very careful. So if I can leave you with anything, is this is a very powerful tool. You can get really anxious or really excited at the horsepower you can throw at images or instances. But be very careful about the pricing, because you get charged on a monthly basis. To open up an account, you need to provide a credit card, and it's set up to automatically charge you per your usage. There are reports you can run to kind of get ahead of that curve to understand, what your burn rate is on a daily basis. So be very careful. You get charged on, your back-end storage. We talked about what the S3 model as it relates to the backbone of an instance running. So think about it as the VMware, virtual hard drive. You pay for ones that aren't being used, but they're just holding that memory for you. You get charged for IP addresses that you currently are using versus ones. I think actually you get charged for when you're not using it. So they look at it as we don't have an infinite amount of IPs, so we're going to charge you if you're not using them, but you can more than happy to let you kind of sit it there and not use it. But be very cautious of that. Everything in this model does cost something. So everything, like I said, is fractions of a dollar, but it does add up very quickly. There are some free tiers from a perspective of a new user in the first year. You do have an ability to get access to a free tier. It does kind of limit you in the horsepower that you can use, so be cautious of that. It does kind of whet your appetite from the perspective of, how does this animal work? How can I use this? How can I leverage it? You'll quickly understand that this is great, and I want to potentially use this more, and that's where you start incurring some costs. So from the perspective of barriers, we kind of just want to open up and engage you in potentially, if you're still seeing barriers, I think many of the customers we're talking to, they're using this today. I've found use of this on POCs. I've had customers say that we have an infrastructure in the EC2, we can give you access to it, or you can have your software communicate to it. So its ability to, work with, our software, be accessible from really anywhere has really helped drive solutions for our customers, and it's been very helpful. There are some embedded security, components of it, and once you start using it, you kind of get an idea. But do be very careful. Think of the EC2 as a big, big burly Mustang, can run really, very fast and really get a lot done for you. But a lot of people are going to want to use it, and you got to be careful that you are applying the proper security constraints to it. Just some quick last-minute things. We got about 20 seconds left. From a perspective of how this can help you, or what does it mean for CA, I've used it in a couple engagements. So like I said, from a POC perspective, I've also used it in partner enablement. It was a joint effort with myself and the Accenture team to do a kind of a load test or stress test on the Identity Minder application, this white paper that was produced was released when the name was Identity Manager. But we leveraged the Amazon EC2 on the backbone there. It's also been helpful in the development aspect of our new and upcoming Identity Minder mobile application for the iOS platform. Has really given us an ability to be malleable and really do a lot of cool things very quickly. So it really gives us a lot of different options from the perspective of providing some great solutions for our customers. So with that, short and sweet, just wanted to get some feedback. Please, you can ask questions in two ways. There is some questions, or you could chat those to us using the WebEx, or you can ask via the conference bridge as well.
Yeah. Star 1 on your phone. So Josh, we're opening for questions now.
And you do have a question from the phone lines from the line of Matt Srinivasan.
Okay.
Hey, Joe. How are you? This is Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Great presentation.
Hi, Matt. Thanks.
Great presentation. Good topic. I'm curious, does the base version of EC2 come with the ability to, dynamically migrate the instance to another live instance should something happen to it? Something crashes, some network connectivity goes off, or something of the sort. Does Amazon provide the ability to migrate the running instance to another instance, if you will?
Yes, they do. You can enable that through a couple ways. You can, so the volume is kind of think of that as the virtualized equivalent of a hard drive. There's ways of kind of saving that off and moving that to specifically a different region. So there's like a region in Oregon here in the States, and there's another big presence in Northern Virginia. So yeah, you can bring down an image, and you can there's some of that I think is dynamically occurring. When you kind of attach a volume to the S3 model, or that, what do they call it? It translates to, S3 stands for Simple Storage Solutions, and I think it does some of that dynamic redundancy for you, so that the likelihood of that happening is somewhat slim, but it does happen. So there are ways that you can kind of prevent that. But yes, you can switch, and they actually even have an IAM tool that helps you kind of manage access to your instance, or into your instances, and manage your AWS and EC2 accounts. And you could basically delegate out, instances to people and give them rights to do those type of backup or archival processes.
Okay, thank you. Just one quick follow-up. I'm curious if there are any enterprise offerings, enterprise companies that have leveraged or are leveraging EC2 for production purposes. I know a lot of development teams and testing teams use it, but is there any production offering that runs on the EC2 cloud, opposed to consumer-oriented things like Netflix and Pinterest and so on?
Yeah, I don't know, and it might be kind of a security issue to really know. I think once you finally get into a customer, they might tell you that. Some of that consumer-facing stuff. I think I would imagine the percentage, it has to be. I mean, there has to be at least one yes out there. Is it high? I don't know, but I know companies are using it. Now, there was a question earlier around, have you used this in a sales opportunity, a services opportunity? We can kind of go back to that poll really quick, but I don't think that it's pretty high on the services side, to be honest with you. Just maybe, who knows what it is. It could be some of those security constraints or concerns that people might have. But yeah, the services numbers is definitely kind of low. But I definitely used it in testing for customers. So I know that the enterprise customers are using it at least for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions, whether from the chat or #6 to mute? Looks like a comment. I don't know if you guys can see this, but Justin was mentioning that the NIMSoft team was using the Amazon EC2 and had a monthly burn rate of between 20 and 30K. Don't know how many servers that is, but just kind of give you an example of the burn rate that you could potentially see in running some decent hardware for a month. Give you an idea, did some calculations for this, and maybe this might be a good ending statement. Give you an idea on the cost structure. A simple Windows machine running kind of middle of the road performance, nothing too beefy, but not the free tier either, obviously. Costs around $4,000 to run for a full year. So you can run at a kind of per hour basis, or I think per day basis. And I failed to mention this actually on the morning session, but just coming to mind now, there's actually a way to kind of buy flat into an EC2 instance. You can actually, if you know you need a specific image for a specific amount of time, you can buy it at the current offering or the current price. So you can lock in a cost and say, I'll pay up front, I'll buy it for a year, and I'll pay it at this rate right now. So you can kind of lock in pricing as well, which can kind of lower that price even more. So if there's any more questions, now is the opportunity. Other than that, I appreciate your time.
Josh, do we have any on the line?
Currently, there are no questions from the phone lines.
Okay.
Great.
Well, thanks, Joe. We appreciate you doing this. It's very helpful and informative. And so there won't be a session next week. It's a U.S. holiday. So the next time we'll see you is January 28th when we talk about top security threats. That ought to be a real interesting one. So we look forward to seeing you then.